Namaste to all the students. I, JVN Dr. Ekta Rana, Assistant Professor of English. I welcome you in the lecture of Introduction to English Literature. Today we will continue with ideology and literature. First of all, what literature is? As I have discussed previously, literature generally reflects life. It limps, even crawls behind events. This is especially so in the period of great social crisis and of historical convention. What is the great literary work of the Napoleonic period, one which parallels our own age? It is Stendhal's The Red and the Black. But Stendhal did not write this novel when he was with the French army in Moscow. He wrote it sometime after the Battle of Waterloo. Some of those who take a view of literature contrary to one which I present here demand the writer be a prophet. His duty is to foresee what is to come, not merely to reflect what has already come, including what man has already dreamed, imagined, constructed in his own head, as well as what has happened in the sense of actual objective events happening. Now, let us examine this claim concretely. Prophecy is what? It is prediction. Whether one makes a prophecy or a prediction on the basis of an inner vision or as the result of a close scientific investigation, that prophecy or prediction proves nothing. It is merely a statement of probability. It must be validated by the occurrence of the events which are predicted. Further, it is obvious that when one makes a prediction, one should base that prediction on that relevant evidence. I ask, therefore, is a lyric poem the proper manner in which to predict historic events? If so, why do we not elect lyric poets as our political leaders? It is the exercise of simple intelligence not to confuse problems. We do not ask our doctors or dentists or scientists or politicians or our mechanics to confuse problems. We ask only our poets and our novelists to do this. Further, those who want to officialize literature, those who insist that the artist wear the uniform of an ideology, persist in calling writers who refuse to accept their demand skeptics and cynics. Often they use the words skeptic and cynic as if they were synonymous. These words do not necessarily have the same meaning. A skeptic doubts, a cynic is without faith. It is possible to doubt, to be critical, and still to have faith. Further, there is no necessary opposition between skepticism and faith. Without a skepticism that is sufficient to permit us to be critical of evidence, we will have a faith that is without warrant. We will then believe in something without knowing why we believe. Also, to say that a writer is skeptical or cynical does not necessarily constitute a valid ground for criticism. For was there no skepticism, no cynicism in Shakespeare? Is there no skepticism in the Bible? Tolstoy was more than skeptical of modern capitalism and at the efficiency of political action. Further, he was a pacifist. Now, a pacifist is obviously skeptical of war. Now, generally speaking, it is the realistic writers who are called skeptical and cynical. Those who make this charge against realists do not, however, examine what the realist writer has to say. They don't examine the condition which he describes. Thank you for watching.